This is Office Hours with SIU System President Dan Mahony, a monthly podcast that explores what's happening in and around American higher education. And now your host, SIU System President Dan Mahony.
Thank you for tuning into Office Hours. I'm your host, SIU System President Dan Mahony. In this episode, we're diving into a topic that has shaped our region, our economy, and our university system for generations: the deep and enduring connection between agriculture and higher education. Here in the SIU system, agriculture is a major part of our identity. From the corn and soybean fields that surround our campuses, to the research labs, classrooms, and outreach centers where innovation begins, agriculture fuels our mission to serve the people of Illinois. Agriculture is changing rapidly, and universities like ours are helping Illinois stay competitive, resilient, and forward-looking. We are honored to have many guests on our podcast today to talk about the agricultural connections, programs, and research happening here at SIU.
Well, we are thrilled to welcome as our first guest a distinguished alum of SIU Carbondale and the Illinois Director of the Department of Agriculture, Jerry Costello. Director Costello grew up working on his family's multi-generational farm in southern Illinois. He also served in the Army and in the state legislature, so really a lifetime of service. So welcome to today's podcast.
President Mahony, thank you. Thrilled to be with you. And as you know, I'm a huge SIU fan and alum. And honestly, we've had multi-generations of the Costello family who have attended SIU. Just proud to be a part of the SIU family.
I've heard you talk about this several times before, but can you tell our audience briefly about the impact agriculture has on the state of Illinois?
So, ag is the number one industry in the state of Illinois. It's about almost a $26.5 billion annual economic impact on the state of Illinois. And according to what study you would look at, either 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 jobs in this state are in some way, shape, or form ag-related. So that would incorporate the hospitality industry, but just a major impact. From an export aspect, we export about $13.8 billion worth of agricultural goods from the state of Illinois. And one thing that many people don't realize, the state of Illinois, we're centrally located. So, Chicago's the rail hub of the United States. We have O'Hare, which is the second busiest airport in the U.S. And from an international aspect, huge. We have the river systems that are all around our state. Obviously, we've got the Mississippi, but also the Great Lakes when you look at accessing Canada and, the northern part of North America there. Illinois, literally 1/4 of things either imported or exported in the United States go through Illinois at some point in time. Obviously, interstates are connecting and intersecting in Illinois because we're the heart of the country.
Yeah, no, it's interesting when you talk about it's both, the land in Illinois is great for agriculture, but also the location helps quite a bit. And so I think you really hit on that well. Now talk a bit about how higher education helps the state achieve its goals relative to agriculture.
So, higher education is so important in agriculture, especially over the last couple of decades, with technology in agriculture changing so much. So to put things in perspective for people listening, the average age of a farmer in the state of Illinois is 58.6 years old. We have more people in the state farming who are over 75 than under 35. So our new generation of students, making sure that number one, they understand technology, because I'm 56, not quite sure how old you are, but I can tell you, a lot of times I have to hand my phone to one of my kids to get things updated. The new generation coming into agriculture, it is so important. I'll talk to you about a little bit things at SIU, like the fermentation lab and some of the changing aspects of ag at SIU have been incredible as far as, tapping into those resources. But from a technology aspect, kids and the education that they are receiving at universities such as SIU really have just a major, major impact. Technology, biotechnologies, obviously seeds and things like that are changing. When you experience drought like we've experienced, those components are more important than they ever have been. So we're in interesting times in agriculture, and education, honestly, is the key to help us adapt to a lot of those changes. The more kids that we can get in agriculture and keep involved in agriculture, the better off we are.
I'm glad you hit on that. We're going to talk about research a good bit later in the podcast, but one of the things we didn't really have in there was the technological changes. And I think we often think about tech changes in many other places, but I'm not sure everybody thinks about it related to agriculture. But in this role, that's one of the things I've learned a lot about and really excited about. And that really leads me to my last question. Kind of what's one thing you see coming in agriculture in Illinois that particularly excites you?
Well, there are a number of things that excite me, but I would tell you one of the things that the Pritzker administration, we were able to do over the last couple of years, the state of Illinois now pays the dues for any child taking agriculture classes in the state of Illinois. We pay their FFA dues. And so we went from about 2.5 years ago, 23,000 students in FFA to close to 44,000 now. And that is a pipeline of kids in agriculture that we are attracting for our universities, also for our businesses. So the youth involvement in agriculture and us investing in youth and ag in the classroom in the state of Illinois, keeping those kids on that track and creating a pipeline for universities such as SIU to make sure they stay involved in agriculture and, knock on wood, stay in the state of Illinois and continue to work in ag in our state. That's probably the one thing. I've been in this position 5.5 years now, and the advancement as far as youth involved in agriculture, it's probably the things that I am the most proud of. We've accomplished a lot, but that has been a major accomplishment.
Yeah, no, and it's we will be talking with one of the former FFA state officers later in the podcast, but it's one of the things I've learned again a lot about, and that growth is something we've seen, and then we certainly have benefited from that as well. So, well, thank you so much, Director Costello. We appreciate your time and appreciate you being part of our podcast.
Hey, absolutely. And President, one thing that I'd like to mention, I really appreciate the Farm Family Resource Initiative, the relationship that we have with SIU School of Medicine. 833-FARM-SOS is that number. It's obviously a call-in option. It's a helpline, a text option, an email option, and 6 free telehealth visits with a medical professional, 100% confidential. It is something that obviously we've been working on for quite some time with SIU to try to help farmers, anybody in agriculture addressing mental health. So thank you to SIU for the partnership that we have with the Farm Family Resource Initiative.
Yeah, we're so happy to be involved with that initiative. It's so important, and I think needed more now than ever. And so we're happy to do the things we can to support our farm families. So again, thank you, and thank you for your leadership on that.
Thank you, sir, and great to be with you. I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you, Director Costello.
Well, I'd like to welcome Christina Boone, who serves as the Dean of SIU Carbondale's College of Agriculture, Life, and Physical Sciences. Dean Boone has decades of experience in higher ed and agriculture, and we thank her for joining us today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
So can you briefly talk about the various programs we offer in agriculture and what jobs students are seeking after they graduate?
Yeah, so the jobs are very diverse. Just recently, USDA every 5 years works with Purdue University on a survey of jobs in agriculture and related sciences. And again, we see that there is tremendous job growth in that. We are producing roughly 30. We're still not producing enough graduates for those jobs, and I think we're producing right around about 70% of the jobs, graduates needed for those jobs. So we still need to produce more students in those areas to meet that job growth. But and it ranges everywhere from things like production agriculture to ag tech, food processing, and then in the service sectors like agricultural education, agricultural communications, and economics, as well as in the more science sectors like soil scientists and things like that, which are all, of course, great strengths here, as well as in animal agriculture. So the jobs are very diverse. There's everything from sales to consultants and all things in between.
Yeah, no, it's been interesting. I get to know a lot of the agricultural students over the last couple of years, and to see the many different jobs that they go into, and some of which I don't think they even anticipated were out there. So it's
I
exciting.
agree. And that was my story too. When I went into agriculture as an undergraduate, I had no idea the diversity of opportunities that would await me.
So we're going to talk to a couple of researchers later, but could you discuss some of the ways research at SIU Carbondale benefits agriculture in Illinois and beyond?
Oh, absolutely. We are in such a great space here because we're in a state where there's 13 million people or almost 13 million people, but we're working with a leading industry, and an industry that produces, annually, we're the largest soybean producer. We're one of the leading corn producing states and specialty crops. Southern Illinois is such an interesting location because we do have all these specialty crops like tree fruits and vineyards and things like that. So our agricultural folks are studying in those areas. So we have some great local food programs, some really interesting horticultural crops. We have the only comprehensive horticultural program here, and we're doing research in those areas. We have some great soil scientists, weed scientists, ecology. I was joking with some ag leaders the other day, and I said, yes, we have this roadwork ecology program, and he recently published in this little journal called Science. And so, just some real leading edge work. And you're going to get to talk to some of our folks today who are doing some really fascinating work in microbiology. You're going to be talking to some of our colleagues who are really dedicated to mental health, and some other folks who are really doing great work in the corn area with ethanol. So, so much interesting research here that goes on to support our producers. Producers are really, they've operated for so many years on very slim profit margins. So we're doing as much as we can to help them be not only sustainable producers from an ecological standpoint, but also sustainable economically, because they need to be able to make profit so that they can stay in business. And we're working on our end, and hopefully others are working on that trade end for us as well.
That's great. And can you tell one thing you see coming in the future of agriculture that you think was going to have a really big impact?
Well, precision agriculture is continuing to have a really large impact. Automation, I think, can have a large impact on it. It's not quite there yet, but as we have more struggles in labor, that could have a large impact for us. I think some other things is we look at biomanufacturing and how we can do more in that area to continue to develop more and more food products, as well as fiber products, things like that, to put our current produce into better uses, and more uses that are available to help people, not just with food and fiber products, but also waste products. And I know you're going to be speaking with one of our folks today who has done a major amount of work in that area.
Yeah, no, I think again the future is also really exciting, and it's so fun to be part of what's happening. And so,
It is.
Boone, it great having you today, and you're relatively new to us, and so welcome to the SIU system, and we're excited about your leadership.
Well, I'm excited to join your team, Dr. Mahoney. I really am. It's really exciting. And I love that SIU as a system has really embraced agriculture and has said this is a big part of our mission.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're also excited to have with us today on the podcast Lahiro Jayakody, who's an assistant professor in the School of Biological Sciences and the Fermentation Science Institute at SIU Carbondale. He has been working on some very exciting research, which we'll talk about here today. So, Lahiro, thank you for being here. And could you briefly tell us a little bit about your research and some of its potential impact?
First of all, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. Really privileged to be with you having this conversation. Research are fundamentally being microbes, for application like making fuels, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and food ingredients. How we do this, we want to use a non-edible material to do this work. For example, I want to use the plastic to make protein that can make a protein cookie, for example. So my work being focused on developing these microbes. I've been very excited, and at the same time I'm very supportive through the agencies and the industries that I get support to do this work. For example, one of the projects we are running, making new type of plastic to replace the PET bottle. So this project was funded by the Japanese, one of the biggest Japanese green tea manufacturer called Itoen. On the other hand, I recently got funding from National Science Foundation under the Career grant to work on developing microbes to eat plastic and making some of the valuable product. For example, producing new type of nylon to replace the textile. And these plastic are degrade more faster than the one we right now having through the synthetic plastic process. In addition, some of other work I've been doing are related to making pharmaceutical. For example, everyday things we are drinking, example, caffeine, right? In the morning you take a coffee. So this caffeine can be converted into very important pharmaceutical molecule that treat child myopia. You don't believe in another 2 decades, half of the world population going to be myopic. So one of the drugs that can treat this called the 7-methylxanthine that coming from caffeine. So microbes can be engineered to convert caffeine into this product. 1 gram of those molecules currently like $700. You can only use 1 gram to treat 1 child per day. It is very expensive, right? So the microbes can do this creative conversion. We able to produce this within like less than $1, I would say $0.50 actually. So this is completely converging of ideas of using microbes to apply a global problems. As I told you, like, the myopia, even in the plastic pollution, we eat, we drink, and we breathe plastic. So we're trying to address those questions. So I'm using microbial based tech. So I believe I give you a very brief idea about what I'm doing as a researcher.
Yeah, and there's a lot there. And I think it's certainly getting that kind of support from an NSF grant is pretty impressive. So congratulations on that. I think it kind of gives some indication of the importance of the work. But anytime you're talking about going from $700 down to a fraction of that to do something that's really important is a major innovation. So can you tell us a little bit about kind of what you see beyond the research you've talked about coming in the future for the Fermentation Science Institute at SIU Carbondale that you think is particularly exciting?
Absolutely. So we have a very unique opportunity in here. I would say, FSI or the fermentation science is one of the special unit that we can bring a next generation's biomanufacturing into a region is basically a rural agricultural setup, right? So if you see the current trends that the US or even in the whole world, they want to have more trends toward biomanufacturing everything we think. For example, let's say the protein. We want to have alternate protein to feed the people within another 2 decades. We are talking about hunger, how we can feed the people. We need to have reinvented the food production system. For example, in our research, we prove that we can convert plastic into edible cookie. That astronauts want to go into the Mars. That's what we did in here. So it's $1 billion market. That's alone. So how we can make the technologies, fermentation science is one of the important avenue for doing that. And we know that all the agencies, including NSF to DOD, DOE, all are supporting that biomanufacturing trends. That's important for national security as well as the global security, like the food production. So I think fermentation science in defining, we had a plan to do that. And absolutely now we are focusing on having that biomanufacturing in here, Southern Illinois. How we can do that? We have farmlands, we have soy, we have corn, and also non-edible part of that, right? Corn husk to corn cob. So to be able to use that to produce these important proteins, important biopharmaceuticals, that's the biomanufacturing. So I'm very excited. The fermentation science is a very unique place, and we have a unique opportunity with the interaction we have Illinois Innovation Network, and we know that umbrella. IIN umbrella. So this is very unique. That's what I'm looking in future. The fermentation science in Southern Illinois University Carbondale will play a big role. And as you probably know that with the new initiative we have with the bio launch, we are in a very unique place now to kick into the very new avenue in Southern Illinois.
Well, thank you, Lahiru. Now, I think it's interesting when you talk about everything that you've mentioned that we've already been doing, but I think the future is really exciting at SIU Carbondale and the Fermentation Science Institute. So, Lahiru, we really appreciate you being here and talking to us about that today. So thank you, and thank you for all the great work you're doing.
Thank you.
On the SIU Edwardsville campus, we have the National Corn to Ethanol Research Center, or NCERC. We're very proud of the center, and joining us today is the Interim Executive Director and Director of Research, Yan Zhang, to tell us a little bit more about the exciting things that are happening here. Briefly tell our audience a little bit about the history of NCERC, its impact, and how it's changed and evolved over the last 20 plus years.
Well, good morning, President Mahony and everybody else. It's a great honor to be able to share with all the audience about the National Corn to Ethanol Research Center on the campus of Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville. So the center, the idea to build a center like this, which is a pilot facility to scale up biochemical conversion, especially on corn to ethanol in the early days. The idea came in the 90s. So it was mostly Illinois Corn Growers Association and Illinois DCEO. So it's because of the Farm Bill in 1996, with the help from Senator Dick Durbin and the Congressman John Shimkus, we were able to get $14 million from the federal support and $7 million from Illinois DCEO. So NSERC opened the door in 2003. I was very lucky to be one of the very few people to join this place and also witness what President Mahony was asking about the changes. So I'm very pleased to share with you with all the hard work NSERC has helped. Number one job in the early days was scale up new technologies to support the corn to ethanol industry grow. If you even just Google to see how quickly we have grown in the past 20 years, one thing NSERC has done, pretty much every ethanol plant you go, you can probably find one technology which was tested at NSERC, I would say between 2005 to 2012. And move on since then, we continue to help the corn to ethanol industry until today. Like on the horizon for the next few months, we have multiple plant trials to help different companies with new technology. And in addition to that, I'm also very pleased to share with you, NSERC, we have retrofit this scale-up facility for corn to ethanol, but we've done beyond making other biofuels, different biochemicals, and we have been used as a CMO, contractual manufacturer organization, to make metric tons biweekly of biopolymer. So that's pretty much about the past 20 years.
Yeah, and again, a lot of things that you summarized there, and I think the impact on the industry and like you say, going everywhere, you can see something that was tested there is pretty impressive. And I know your job placement rate for the people who've gotten experience there is phenomenal as well. So when you look towards the future, what do you see coming in agriculture that you think will have a big impact, and how will NSERC play a role?
Great question, President Mahoney. So in the near future, like what I mentioned, one of the focuses NSERC has placed on is about take the carbon dioxide, it's an off-gas product out of corn to ethanol. We've worked with multiple technology companies on converting those carbon dioxide to different chemicals. So there are all the roads go to Rome, and the goal for our industry is to help lower the carbon intensity score. So by converting carbon dioxide and to turn that into some other chemicals will be a very good way. So that's just one of the ideas and the work we've done. In addition to that, we actually are very, very active working with sustainable aviation fuel. So among all the pathways, ethanol, bioethanol is one of the feedstocks we can use. As an expert for our center in ethanol, we actually went beyond just corn to ethanol. We developed in-house proprietary technology to convert a waste, like a food waste, biomass waste. We were just talking about actually working with the University of Hawaii on pineapple waste and making ethanol out of that. Because of those work, we got a lot of attention. In addition to that, actually, I like what President Mahoney mentioned about, I don't want to forget about our utilize the pilot and the firm suite and the lab to help with workforce training. We're actually funded multiple projects helping different universities, also our university, to train the students at different levels utilize the pilot facility to improve their chance to get a job.
Yeah, so again, you're right. It's a combination of some really exciting things, and we've talked about some of these before that are coming from a research standpoint, but also that ongoing workforce development has been a big part of NSERC's history. So, Yan, thank you so much for being here today, and thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Thank you very much.
Another important program that we have, which is actually housed in our SIU School of Medicine, is called the Farm Family Resource Initiative. Karen Stallman is the project coordinator and leads the work in this area and joins us today to talk about how we're able to serve farmers in Illinois. So, Karen, thank you for being here.
Thank you, President Mahoney. It's a pleasure to be here.
So can you briefly discuss how and why the Farm Family Resource Initiative was created and some of the ways it currently supports farm families?
So the Farm Family Resource Initiative, and I'll call it FFRI, came about in 2019, and that's when the late Senator Scott Bennett recognized the need for us here in Illinois to be doing something to help Illinois farm families address farmer stress-related issues. Now, Senator Bennett has since passed, but he was a strong advocate of agriculture. And so he introduced legislation to provide funding and was successful and charged the SIU School of Medicine with overseeing the FFRI. He wanted to ensure that our Illinois farm families were staying healthy both physically and mentally. So we piloted in 6 central Illinois counties, and thanks to continued funding through the Illinois State Legislature and support from the Illinois Department of Agriculture, we've got a strong advocate in Director Jerry Costello. We now serve all 102 counties in the state of Illinois. So if you're a farm family in any county here in Illinois, you can access our services. So FFRI, we have a 24/7 helpline. We also offer telehealth counseling. Let me pause and share our helpline numbers. Our helpline number is 1-833-FARM-SOS or 1-833-327-6767. And so the helpline is a staff of mental health professionals who know agriculture, who can answer calls. We say that we all need someone to talk to. And we purposely called it a helpline rather than a hotline, because you don't have to be in crisis to call a helpline. Certainly if you are in a crisis situation, they're able to help. So we do have the helpline. You are also offered telehealth counseling services. So through our School of Medicine, we have professional counselors who can do individual, couple, group, maybe the whole family would like to have some counseling. And we offer up to 6 telehealth counseling sessions at no charge. So that's also available by calling our helpline. On our website, which our website is siumed.org/farm. And if you didn't catch that, you can certainly Google Farm Family Resource Initiative and find it. We have an electronic resource guide, many resources, including a monthly podcast. We have webinars, we have videos, we have all kinds of things on our website to help farm families. We also have a grief support group, which meets monthly. So those are held in the evenings to make it easier for families to participate. And those are for families who we call it a suicide support group. It's really for anybody that has experienced any kind of loss on the farm. And we have a mental health professional who leads that group.
There's a lot there, and we always want to thank Senator Bennett. His passing was a real tragedy, but his legacy lives on through FFRI and the work that he really wanted us to do, I see us doing. And can you tell us a little bit about what you may see coming in the future and how we might be able to continue to expand that impact?
I'll back up for just a minute and plug him again. We can't say enough about Senator Bennett and the role that he played, and then Director Costello and the role he plays now in supporting, just so supportive. So we continue to grow. In fact, this year we added additional staff to the FFRI team. Rachel Brown is a mental health specialist, and we've not had that before, someone with a mental health background, so that's very beneficial. She, as I mentioned earlier, she leads our support group. Shari Craddock is our ag resource specialist. And we also hired a marketing specialist. So Emily Reinhardt leads up that role. And I'll add that this awesome team all have ag backgrounds. So Emily actually is a dairy farmer. Rachel Brown grew up on a farm, as did Shari. And I actively farm with my husband, grew up on the farm and farm with my husband in Randolph County. So a team, we say that we know farming, and this team certainly does. We are all familiar with it. So I see FFRI continuing to grow over the coming years. And of course, the need is great. I'm going to pause for just a minute and share a personal story with you. As I think about the 2025 crop year on our farm here in Southern Illinois, I think it will be remembered as one of the most difficult years to navigate. We dealt with too much rain in the spring, had way too much water here, and then we suffered a terrible drought starting in about July and didn't have rain for a long time. We had record input costs, expensive breakdowns, and very few opportunities to market at a profitable price. Why do I mention this? Why do I share this? Because we, like other farmers, experience all of those variables that we have no control over. Of course, we have no control over the weather or the input cost or the breakdowns, any of that, but that causes so much stress. And we know when people deal with stress day in and day out, and I call that the chronic drip, drip, drip of stress, we know that that can lead to anxiety, that can lead to depression, and in some cases, that can lead to suicide. So that's why our FFRI work is so important. We'd like to be able to expand into offering on-farm counseling visits. We'd like to be able to meet the farmer where he or she is. We're always adding resources to our website. We're always identifying other resources, creating new ones. We'd like to expand. We do an FFA mini grant program where we rely on FFA chapters to help us spread the FFRI word. And we'd like to perhaps expand that to other organizations, maybe 4-H, maybe the Illinois Farm Bureau. So that might be an opportunity. We plan to expand our professional development offerings to help boost our ag industry partners. Many of them are on the front lines, so it's important that they know how to help somebody who's struggling and how to identify somebody who's struggling. We want to identify and help recognize what the stigma and barriers are as to why our ag communities are so reluctant to seek out mental health resources. There's so many opportunities to expand our services and continue demand, and I look forward to seeing what we can do. There again, I'll go back to what Senator Bennett originally wanted, and that was to make sure that our Illinois farm families are healthy, both physically and mentally, and we want to be able to be a part of that, be a leader in the field, and help everybody in the state move forward to making sure that everybody's healthy.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I will reiterate, too, you talked about it, but Director Costello's ongoing support, I think, has really helped us to continue to expand in the ways that you're talking about. I will tell you, it's interesting. I was talking with my mom the other day, who was very concerned about the mental health of a lot of farm families and over the last year, and I told her about this initiative. So she was excited all the way from New Jersey just to hear about what you all are doing. So thank you again, Karen, for all of your work.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, President Mahony.
So I will tell you, one of the things I've really loved about coming to SIU is my opportunity to get involved with FFA and really meet a lot of the officers. I've been part of the selection process a couple times. So our final guest is one of our most outstanding students who's impressed me from the time I met her. One of the first students I met from FFA when I first got here, and really the things she's doing both inside and outside the classroom. So Gracie Murphy is here to talk to us a little bit about her work, how she's done things at SIU as well as with FFA, and really part of our role of kind of creating that next generation of leaders in FFA, and she's a big part of that. So Gracie, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much. Very humbled to hear your thoughts on that. But yeah, I just want to say thank you. And from the time that Adam and I had lunch with you, I just remember both of us saying, wow, he's actually the president. Like he just seems so friendly and welcoming. So I want to thank you for what you've done for FFA, but also for everyone at SIU.
Well, thank you. Well, can you just start by talking briefly about the impact that FFA and SIU has had on you as a leader and a future professional?
Yeah, definitely a loaded question there because there's so many aspects you could take about that. But while I was kind of reflecting on those questions and some answers that I would say, I'd say the big thing that came from FFA is really just this understanding of the diversity of agriculture and of people, specifically people involved in agriculture all across the nation. Had the wonderful opportunity to serve as a national officer, and I got to take a full year just to travel all over the place and get to meet people and see agriculture all over and advocate for an industry that has so much diversity within it. So from FFA, definitely this understanding of this big picture, like what agriculture actually means to everybody. And I think there's definitely something inspirational about that. And what I loved about traveling is that even through all the diversity, this heart and passion and soul that people have for agriculture, it's the same everywhere, honestly. So it's really cool to see that we all care about the same thing, just the way that we go about caring for it is different. So that was really such an awesome experience to be able to see that and understand that. And then coming to SIU, one thing about FFA, especially serving as national officers, you were kind of by yourself a lot. Like you got to travel, and it was a rare occurrence to be in one state for more than a week. So you were always traveling, constantly seeing other people, experiencing different things. So it definitely became really reliant on myself, like focused on, writing speeches on my own, reading books, and a lot of like me time and personal time outside of everything going on. And then I came to SIU, and it was kind of almost like whiplash. Like all of a sudden I'm surrounded by the same people every single day and seeing the same professors every single week. So, but that really gave me a sense of community, which is one thing that I've really loved at SIU, specifically in the College of Ag Life and Physical Sciences, is that everybody comes from different places, everybody has different perspectives and opinions, but at the end of the day, everybody shows up for one another and everybody's there for one another and everybody helps one another. And so thinking towards the future, a lot of the people, students, faculty, staff that I've met at SIU, I'm definitely going to continue to expand our relationships in the future, and they've opened a lot of doors for me and helped me continue to grow and encourage different opportunities. So definitely the sense of community is one thing that SIU is really great at.
Yeah, what's interesting when you talk about those different opportunities, you certainly have taken advantage of that. You talked about your experience as a national officer, experience as a state officer. And what do you think that's done for you as a leader and as a future leader? Like, what do you think the biggest takeaway has been from all of that?
I honestly think the biggest takeaway is that it's okay to say no, and it's good to know yourself. And then I think it's awesome to go out there and learn about different things. But I think sometimes, especially I've noticed from our age group, kind of in this early 20s, like late teens, early 20s timeframe, we see a lot of people reliant on like social media influencers or reliant on kind of following the crowd, what everybody else is doing. And I think that's normal. So probably the biggest takeaway I've gotten from this is just understanding of the importance to know yourself. I know that it's wonderful to go out there and learn and experience and take new things, but just because somebody doesn't want to take an opportunity doesn't mean that you shouldn't. Vice versa, just because somebody wants to take an action to go do something, that doesn't mean that you have to take that same action either. So I think community is really important, but also understanding who you are, what your values are, and then letting those values and morals guide you more than these external factors that we see.
I think it's a really great insight, that understanding of who you are and what is important to you, I think, is kind of the core to any really good leader. So we've been asking everybody a question about the future. And so with you, I want to ask, what do you see coming in the future for Gracie Murphy?
Yes, a lot of exciting things. Definitely, I've been blessed with a lot of incredible experiences and opportunities. And more of a personal note, I have a lot of gratitude for SIU for bringing me my fiance, actually. So we're both graduating next December of 2026, and he's working on his master's right now. So definitely in the relative future, looking forward to marrying him. And then his dream goal is to become a professor and continue to give back and stay in the education system. So definitely looking forward to supporting him in that and encouraging him in that. And then for me personally, agriculture is something that we're both passionate about. So I hope that whatever comes my way, it's an opportunity to advocate for agriculture and help grow the next generation of leaders.
That all sounds great, and congratulations on your engagement. So I did not know that. I just found that out today. So, well, thank you, Gracie. We appreciate you joining us today on the podcast.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the opportunity.
Well, I want to thank all of our guests today. I think we've been able to kind of explore many, many things within agriculture and the SIU system. I will say it was one of the exciting things for me coming to SIU. It had been a while since I had been at a school with a strong agriculture program. And as someone who grew up with a cornfield as my backyard, I felt very much at home coming to SIU. And all of these different people we've talked to, I've gotten to work with pretty closely in a variety of different ways. And it's been an exciting part of the job. So as we wrap up this episode, I do want to acknowledge our production team at the Office Hours podcast, SIU Edwardsville graduate student Solomon Amandi and Jason Church at WSIE Radio on the SIUE campus for his guidance. And last but certainly not least, we are grateful to all of our listeners for spending part of your day with us today. So thank you so much.
Be sure to join us next time on Office Hours for further conversation with the people who work in and study higher education. Special thanks to Kara Baldus-Merriman and Daniel Merriman for the use of their composition Writer's Block as the Office Hours theme song. And thank you for listening to Office Hours with SIU System President Dan Mahony.